Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
You got Luke?
Luke, joined by two special guests to continue our Autodesk University 2019 interview tour, Mr. Stephen Hooper and Greg Fallon, VP and GM of Fusion 360, and VP, I'm going to say, of Design and Manufacturing, because there were a whole lot of other words in there.
All good.
All good?
And I think we've already made fun of the length of your titles in the past, so we can just let that one lie.
I think so. So before we get into things, we got to play another game. Last year we played How Well Do You Know Your CEO? Mm-hmm. So we had to change it up a little bit this year, and we're going to be looking at some Autodesk trivia. So how well do you know the company?
And don't cheat and look at the screen.
Yeah, don't be looking at my screen, okay?
Okay.
All right. So we're going to have you go ahead and if one of you thinks you know the answer, let us know so you don't ruin it for the other one. Also, Andrew just did a pretty good job, so no pressure. Who's considered to be the founder of Autodesk, along with roughly 17 of his best friends?
Oh, boy. I know.
So, don't worry, Andrew's not getting any of these videos to know how well you know the history and culture.
That was a good lie.
Yeah, he is.
I could name one of the early 12.
Okay, let's hear it.
John Pittman was one.
I don't know who that is.
Yep, you're correct with that one. You got the first name right. John.
Oh, John. I don't know.
John Walker.
Yes.
John Walker.
What software, what was Autodesk's original software name supposed to be?
Office. It was an Office desk. No, it was going to. Wasn't it going to be Auto?
It was there was a software in the name.
I think this was when they were in a garage.
Marin Software Partners.
Oh, right. No.
Such a better name.
All right, moving on here. Just 0 for 2, right?
Yep.
Okay. What? This will be tough.
We got a half.
A half.
Point for
Half
We'll give you
on
a half.
John.
You got
Okay.
John. You got John.
What were the project names of AutoCAD 9, 10, and 11?
Oh God.
A little unfair. Okay.
That was before I was born.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I don't know. They were Beatles album titles: White Album, Abbey Road, and Let It Be. I feel like we've gotten less creative over the years
Yes,
with
we
our
have.
titles. All right. I think you might get these ones.
Yeah. What company was acquired where the future CEO Carl Bass worked? What was the name of the company?
Wasn't it?
Yeah. I think was it Ithaca? Yeah.
Very good.
Very good. All right. What was the project name under which Autodesk Inventor launched in 1990? Rubicon.
Oh, you didn't even wait.
It's impressive.
Yeah, threw down.
Next up, what is the most popular STEM STEAM podcast run by Autodesk employees?
Unprofessional Engineering.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Did you know that?
No, I did not know that. That's great. That's
That
impressive.
was hurtful.
Okay, now we're in the lightning round. Ready? Quick answers. What building technology company was acquired in 2002?
Revit.
Very good.
What was acquired in 2006 with the FBX file format?
Maya? Or no?
Max and Maya.
Alias.
Alias. Of course
Yeah.
it was.
Andrew also said.
Andrew said
yeah.
the exact same thing. Often considered the greatest acquisition by
That's right.
Autodesk. What simulation product was acquired December 17th, 2008?
Algor?
That's right. Exactly. And you know why?
Modular?
You know
No,
why
it
it
was
was
Algor.
Algor. You got a
Right.
lot of talent that
because-
came with that acquisition. Thank you.
Yeah, no,
We
no.
did?
You're welcome. Wow. It's always tough with Greg. All right. In 2011, what website and platform where users can share their ideas and DIY projects was Instructables.
And finally, what giant acquisition went down in 2014 of the UK-based advanced CAD/CAM software?
Delcam. See,
Yeah.
this was closer
It
to
got
their
it got
years,
easier
right?
at the end.
All right, not too bad. We'll see how everyone else does. So let's move on to the real questions. Less fun, but real questions. So starting out easy, what are the both of you looking forward to at AU 2019? And don't tell me talking to customers.
Because we assume you talking with customers is already your number
Right.
one. So what's your number two thing you're looking forward to?
Oh, I can't wait. We have a gigantic announcement tomorrow.
Okay?
It's going to come out tomorrow morning. Steve's going to talk about it tomorrow afternoon, and we're going to talk about it at the keynote, the industry keynote.
He's just teasing
You're
it up
really
here.
going to put it out there like that?
Yeah.
A big announcement that we can't talk about. Okay,
Oh,
I like
goodness.
it.
Okay.
How about you?
I'm pretty much looking forward to exploring everything that's out here because often there are like partners and applications that I've not come across before, and it's a really good opportunity to see what's out there and who we could potentially work with. Plus, there's some brilliant examples of customer work out there,
Yeah.
which are kind of cool to look at. So, yeah,
I've been going through taking pictures, and I'm like, I probably can't post those yet.
You read like the Claudius Peters things.
Oh yeah.
You read about that stuff, but it's kind of different when you see it physically, like full scale.
Absolutely.
It's kind of cool. The Hyperloop thing, that's cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
So let's get this out there. We had a conversation, or you guys had a conversation. I think all three of you may have been on the call. Inventor's not going away anytime soon.
Oh, you mean the Neal Cross thing?
Yeah, the Neal Cross. So if you could kind of take a minute each in that conversation you had with Neal Cross, where we were talking about Inventor and Fusion side by side, how they work. It's not a replacement strategy or anything along those lines. If you had to sum up that interview and kind of the key points each, what would you do?
Steve, you were on that call. Why don't you go first?
Yeah. So, I think the first thing is they complement one another, right? So, if you think about the work we've done with generative design, something Greg started before it was integrated into Fusion, but generative design as part of Fusion is a great complement to Inventor. And then the other thing that we're trying to do with Fusion is really start to take all of the manufacturing technologies that we've got and combine them together on a single platform, so that you don't just have a subtractive capability or tool probing or additive manufacture. You've got everything together. I was talking to a customer earlier today who was describing some of the challenges that they have when they additively manufacture something, not being able to take into account the subtractive operations that come after it so that they could optimize the design. So basically being able to combine everything together for manufacturing on one stack, so you've got like a hybrid manufacturing tool, that's a perfect complement to Inventor as well. And then some of the stuff that we're kind of doing for collaboration in the cloud, that complements Inventor. So we just built a really strong connection between Fusion Lifecycle and Vault.
Okay.
So there are lots and lots of things that the two products can complement one another. There are some customers that want to be able to do some basic design work inside of Fusion, independent of any other tool that we've got in our portfolio, and that's fine. Possibly they're overserved by other tools and technologies that are out there in the market. So Fusion plays an important role for those customers. If you think of someone like in a job shop where they've got to maybe design a jig or a fixture, Fusion's perfectly equipped to help them with that challenge. And then it's got all those manufacturing tools as well. But that doesn't kind of put it in conflict with Inventor, because Inventor's able to deal with massive structures. John was just earlier today showing me some of the work with dynamic structures. It can deal with tremendous amounts of data. It's kind of optimized.
Multi-million part assemblies.
It's getting crazy.
Yeah.
So I actually think there's a really nice synergy between the two, and you put them together in the collection. You've got AutoCAD, Inventor, and Fusion. Now you've got the best tools for 2D design, 3D design, and manufacturing. And yeah, there'll be the occasional customer that the manufacturing and design tools that are in Fusion are good enough for them. That's fine. But in the collection, you've got the best of all three, and they complement one another. So there's absolutely no intent for one technology to supersede another.
Okay. Greg, your take on either that call or anything you want to add?
Yeah, for sure. So I would look at Microsoft as a really good example, right? So take PowerPoint. PowerPoint you can use in the cloud or on the desktop. And the desktop capabilities are really deep, they're for really big files, and the cloud gives you really great collaboration utilities. So when you think about Fusion as a collaboration tool, that's one. And Fusion will continue to get better and better as a collaboration tool. If you look at the investments we've been making over the last 2 years with Fusion, they've been heavy on the collaboration, but also super heavy on the manufacturing side, right? So Steve has announced earlier this year the addition of the Fusion manufacturing extensions, which takes us up to very sophisticated CAM and additive capabilities, inspection capabilities, and you're going to see more and more of that happening. And like Steve said, they're both in the collection, and so the other thing that you're going to start to see more and more of is making it super easy for an Inventor user to use those deep design capabilities, but also leverage Fusion with it seamlessly so that the data travels easily back and forth between the two. Right now it does. It's not a workflow that is perfected yet, so we're working on perfecting that. And the other thing I'd say is that, just like with Fusion, we're investing in deep manufacturing capabilities. With Inventor, we're investing in deep connectivity with AutoCAD. That's continuing to get better. And the other thing that's getting even better, where we're investing much more heavily these days, is the Inventor to Revit connection. So the whole BIM environment and connection into the BIM environment, we're really excited about it. I think you're going to see a lot more of that in the next 5 months, some things that are really game-changing.
Yeah, I got a chance to see a little bit of the preview of some of the main stage stuff, and there's some really interesting stuff that's already there that we're demonstrating, some future things that might be happening. So seeing that connection, that from manufacturing to BIM, there's always kind of been that disconnect. And I feel like with recent acquisitions and all the things we're doing, kind of bringing those two environments together is going to be really key for the future.
I think the other thing I'd say is there's always going to be people that listen to us say this and go, oh yeah,
right.
The corporate guys are going to tell us what they want us to hear.
Yeah.
The best proof is in when you actually see what we deliver. So Greg was just talking about there this kind of improved data interoperability. The two groups, like Derek's development organization and ours, got together to figure out what a combined data experience should look and feel like for a collections customer, because you don't want to have a different experience for managing data when you're in the collection. So you'll see us work on that and deliver that over the coming months and years. As you see that happen, that'll be proof that we're investing in both products, because we wouldn't be doing that unless we were serious about maintaining both of them.
So as my buddy Neal says, this one's for Hoop Dog. Can I call you Hoop Dog?
You may.
Yeah, I told you we're tight. Yeah, I tell you that. Okay. So how do you keep Fusion and its development cycle so agile as the product continues to grow? I mean, it's dabbling all over the place, and it's doing more than dabbling in most of those spots. So how do you keep it so agile? And remember, we're speaking like a person, so don't say that we're running like a startup.
No, I wouldn't. So, no, I think some of this comes from... So there's a few components to this. One, we've made a lot of acquisitions in the past. So you mentioned a few of them earlier.
Just a couple.
Yeah. So a lot of those team members are kind of part of our organization, and we have like all of these speciality products on which we can draw from both experience from the individuals that built them and the kind of core technology code base as well. So that enables us to kind of cherry pick some really useful workflows and bring them together in a way that hasn't been done before. So that's one thing. The second thing is the delivery platform on the cloud allows us to basically push updates on a much more frequent basis. So that gives us a lot more flexibility in how we deliver updates. So we're not constrained to shipping cycles. So that brings with it a lot of flexibility in different technologies that you can experiment with. And the third piece of that is that we don't have to push everything live to production in one go. We can actually do a thing called feature flagging, which just means that we can bake in new preview technology into the shipping build, but just turn it on for specific customers to experiment with. So it's the same build of software that we're pushing through the cloud, but only certain users when they log in get access to it, and that allows us to iterate much faster and test with preview technology. Those three things combined together, I think, help. And then the other thing is to give the teams that are building these technologies a lot more freedom. Just tell them what we're trying to achieve from a product vision perspective, and then allow them to be more creative about how they approach that challenge.
I didn't know that about the feature flagging. They probably turn mine so that things get turned off.
Yeah, they don't want you running.
James, you can
images.
extrude a square.
I only have 3 buttons in my
Yeah.
They don't.
So Greg, switching over to the collection. So when you're sitting there slapping all these things into the collection, we got things in there, Fusion, Inventor, lesser products like AutoCAD. Joking, that's...
Good job.
How do you kind of decide like what makes it in the collection and what that makeup looks like? And it's been kind of the same for a little while, and things have kind of dropped in and out. Just how does that happen? Is that customer feedback? Is it usage? Is it vision and connectivity? Like, what's the idea for what goes in there?
Yeah, so I'd say it's all about vision and connectivity. So the 3 pillars of the collection now are AutoCAD, Inventor, and Fusion. And so we're trying to build out the specific workflows from design to manufacturing. Remember, it's the product design and manufacturing collection. And so we use that as really the vision in the test case. And the connectivity, for example, between Inventor and Fusion is improving and getting much better. Fusion's new investments in manufacturing are going to add a lot of value to collection users now and then in the future over the next 12 months. So we typically look at that triangle and try to make sure that we're enhancing workflows for users on one of those 3 pillars from a product perspective, but it's all about connecting design and manufacturing.
Okay. So all this stuff you're talking about with Fusion, some of these new connectors and different enhancements, that's all going to be available from a collection.
So collection users get access to Fusion, And then what we need to do is decide how they get access to the extensions.
What's the next step?
And we haven't, to be honest with you, made a decision on that yet.
Okay.
It's something we're looking at. It all depends on customers' interest in usability. So we're actually going to run some experiments early next year.
Does anyone know what the extensions are? I bet they don't.
If you'd like to share, I'd love for you to tell us about them.
Well, so the technology that we got from things like from Delcam, as you mentioned earlier, obviously what we want to do is provide access to them, but not overload every user with everything.
Not everybody needs Delcam.
Right. So we have always said, if you're like American and you're using Hulu, you'll be familiar with it's a TV streaming service for people that aren't American. But it has a single user interface, and if you want to subscribe to extra content like NFL or HBO or anything else that you want to view, you just pay a little extra and you get that specialized content. Your user interface and experience doesn't change. We just turn the extra content on for you.
Gotcha.
Similar sort of thing for Fusion. So not everyone's like an expert machinist that needs like full 5-axis collision avoidance, but if you do, you can turn that stuff on selectively just for you. So that's what Greg's like, figuring out how to expose that stuff to Inventor customers through the collection.
Gotcha. Okay.
Do you watch NFL football?
I do.
You do? Are you a Niners fan?
Well, see, now that's because it's difficult to say yes to that without looking like
You're
just
on
chasing a winning team. Yeah, exactly.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
But yeah, I do like the Niners. I have been following it. It's been pretty interesting.
Very good.
It's been a journey for me. It's taken me 11 years to understand the rules of NFL football.
Okay. Greg, do you watch football?
So I used to watch a ton of football. So I've actually fallen in love with the other side of the world. So for the last 15 years, I've been a huge soccer fan.
All right.
What's your team? Do you have
well, you really want to know?
Yeah.
Middlesbrough.
Middlesbrough United?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's cool.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't even know what that means, but
we have the Riverhounds. I think they're like 3 divisions down in the
you've
MLS.
got a soccer team in Portland. You've got
the
Timbers.
Yeah.
they're pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Do you watch them?
I do. Yeah, I go to games frequently.
Do you?
Yeah, I try to go.
Should do that. That would be a great night out.
Yeah, easily.
So I'm inviting ourselves whenever you guys do
you should
that.
come. Actually,
absolutely.
And I'll just say the highlight of the last year, since you guys aren't going to ask me that. But so when I was in Barcelona about 2 months ago, I got to go to a Champions League game. I saw Barcelona and Inter Milan. It was awesome.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That was really cool.
Where was that?
It was in Barcelona.
Oh, it was in Barcelona. Yeah.
Was
cool.
the score 1-0?
It was 2-0.
2-0. Okay, well, there we go. All right, let's get this back on track a little bit here. So since you were both nice enough to speak with us last year, a few times, I believe, we had the chance to talk about generative design. Turns out that's all the rage. There's a lot of awesome displays here at AU. Last year there were a ton. I have a sneaking suspicion there's going to be a few around this year as well, which is awesome. Could you give us like a high-level overview of how generative has grown in the past year or so?
Go for it.
All right. Cool. I won't give away any of the stuff we're going to show off on Wednesday.
Yeah, we can't do that yet.
Really
Could you bring us right up to that point, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, a big focus for us has been on the manufacturing constraints, because everyone looks at it, and I'm looking at the example that's behind us. It kind of looks like something out of Alien. It's very organic.
Yeah.
And it's the example from Claudius Peters. They're waving at us. It's the example from Claudius Peters. And so they said basically it was great because it served as a source of inspiration, but then they had to go back and kind of rebuild it so that they could fabricate it with traditional manufacturing techniques. So the biggest thing for us was getting to 2.5 axis. So this time last year, we were showing a preview of the 2.5 axis constraint solver, which means the generative design you produce, you can make on a milling machine that anyone's got access to. That's all in shipping product now, so that's out there in the field, and that's probably been the biggest development, because now it's starting to get to the point where you can't really tell the difference between a generative design and a human design. We actually did a little test for Andrew in our last review with him, where we put 3 examples up and asked him to spot, and he couldn't pick the one that was generative.
That's good.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that's been probably from a customer's point of view, that's probably the most exciting development step forward. I think internally what we're probably what we geek out on is all the sim tech, right? Which that's Greg's passion. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
For sure. So I mean, I could talk about generative design for years, but I'll agree with Steve. I think that the biggest near-term development for generative design is really around manufacturing constraints. And now that we have 2.5 axis milling constraints in generative design, it opens it up to more users easily. And so, I think last year we had almost every major auto OEM around the world heavily interested in generative design, and I think it was validating our technology in a really big way. With 2.5 axis constraints, we're seeing it go further. And so as we look to the future, Steve talked about simulation. So to start with, right, generative design is based on AI. Well, the first level of AI is really about simulation, engineering simulation. So at the moment, generative design is single physics. We're hoping at some point in the future to extend it to multiple physics. We're extending the depth of physics, so there's a test release of generative design out there that adds much more significant physics from a structures perspective. And that's really big, because if you look at what generative design does for customers, part of it is getting rid of or making it easy to explore lots of designs simultaneously, but the magic behind the scenes is that they're also validated, which means they're simulated. And so we've had success at large OEMs, but my favorite story about generative design was a small company in the UK that attended a generative design seminar, and that company made stages like the one we're sitting on, boxes.
Okay.
Right, so you can imagine the look on my face when the technical salesperson came up to me with a big smile and said, "Hey, we use generative design to redesign a box." And so I wasn't quite sure they understood what the tool was meant to be used for, but then I felt really stupid when they explained to me what the use case was. It was brilliant. It was a really small company. They didn't have anyone with a lot of simulation expertise. They had to make the frames in the boxes. So this engineer took generative design home, started messing around with the frame design, and he didn't really have the time or the bandwidth to go through and try to optimize the structure. Well, the tool did it for him. And then he was able to look at multiple materials. So this company ended up changing the structure of the boxes of these stages, which gets shipped all over the world. And he also changed the material from steel to aluminum. So they reduced the weight by 33%, and they increased the structural strength and rigidity by 60%.
Wow.
Just by sitting down with the tool in a few hours. And it's just, so that's my favorite story. And then we've got all the other fancy stories like Claudius Peters and General Motors. But
actually, there is one other thing on that.
Okay, let's hear it.
So I was just thinking of the example with Andrew. There were 3 examples, and the last example was one that wasn't just exclusively generative or human. It was a mix. Because that's probably, actually from a customer's point of view, it's probably the most important thing. We don't give you a mesh back like some of these other less reputable vendors of topology optimization. We give you full editable parametric history-based geometry that you can then carry on working with. So our objective isn't to like replace the human being, it's to kind of come up with like a ton of different ideas really quickly, but then you can take that and then build on top of it and edit it and tweak it and do what you want with it. So it's kind of like an assistant, not Skylab.
Gotcha. So Greg, this one's for you. So with respect to generative, I know we want folks that have the collection, that have Inventor. So these are hardcore Inventor users. What do you say to that person to get them to run that first generative study and to get them interested? Like what's that Inventor person like? What's going to get them excited about it to run it?
Yeah, so it's a good question. Go ahead. You go
got
first.
some fun with.
What's that?
So you guys have just built a promotion for it.
Yeah.
So like, his team's just put together I don't know whether we should be saying this now, but I'm going to say it. His team's put a promotion together where anyone that's got Inventor and access to Fusion can use as much generative.
Oh yeah, we're allowed to say that.
We're allowed to say that one.
Yes.
So we don't have to edit this out, Stephen.
Yeah, I think the promotion's there, but I would have to say that at this point, if you're an Inventor user and you're using CAD, you should be exploring new technologies, and the easiest one for you to explore, chances are that you have access to the collection if you're an Inventor user, is to run generative design in Fusion. First of all, it'll at least give you an understanding of what's happening in the industry, so that's great professional development. Second of all, you could coming away with a few ideas. And the ideas are going to range to inspiration, which is what happened at Claudius Peters, where you got inspired to think differently, or it may actually force you to give you ideas to actually create a new design. And so, I think if you have access to it and you have a few minutes and you're starting a new project, you'd be crazy not to give it a try.
Yeah, and it's free. You can download for free.
Yep, it's as much as you want to use it until the end of the year. So, and it is pretty good fun. I mean, if you're an engineer, we're all engineers, so we geek out on this stuff. Like just this would be really cool. Put the load on it, tell it the materials, and just see what it comes up with. It's kind of
It's wild. Yeah, one of the most fun projects that we had is we got a big group of people together and we made a bridge building contest. We built these plastic bridges, right?
Yeah.
And so it was really cool. We were trying to bridge like a 4-inch surface, and we had this big contest to see which team could make a bridge that held the most weight with generative
Can you tell us who won?
I think Nanda Santhanal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's a surprise. He's a chief architect.
Right. Yeah.
So my guess is this promotion you guys are putting together. It's like they're taking a little bit out of your pay and a little bit out of Greg's pay to kind of pay for all this solving.
We're non-profit.
We're self-funding it. Yeah.
That's smart.
for the next month. So that goes up until when?
I think it's December 31st.
Yeah,
December 31st.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I hate to keep beating the generative drum, but I think this is just so interesting, and especially because, like, I try and keep up with our software and all of the different things. Generative has, kind of been like, okay, it's there, it's cool. And last year at this time, we would have these talks, and just like what you're saying, here's this great looking part, but you can't make this thing. Maybe you can 3D print it. Is 3D printing even there? Maybe you can manufacture it. But the idea of having design constraints up while it's coming up with the solution is brilliant. It's hard to believe that there's smarter people than me working at Autodesk.
It
but
is.
Like, to set this stuff up is just amazing to me.
And
What a
that's
great solution.
We've been trying to consciously do this with the main stage stuff, is to do a mix of what's available now plus what are we working on next. But the problem is when you show what we're working on next, people are like, oh, is it just smoke and mirrors? Is it really real?
Sure.
Are they ever going to ship it? So Greg and I have been doing this for a couple of years now. I'm hoping that we're building a little trust that when we show some stuff that we're working on, this time next year, it'll be real. So
Maybe
this
they'll
time
believe
last
you.
year, we were smoke and mirrors on 2.5 axis, and now it's real.
Right.
This year, we'll be showing some new stuff. And
Apparently, I was one of those people that was like, okay, we'll see.
yeah, I mean, it's good. Like I said, actions speak louder than words. We got to deliver it.
Yeah, and the outcomes are great, right? So just with the 2.5 axis machine toolpathing capabilities, some of the results that Steve's team has produced have faster machine times than the manually produced designs. Significantly faster machine times. So it's really amazing.
Well, and the other thing you'll see, like Andrew's been pretty keen on where else can we apply generative, like in architecture, engineering, construction, everywhere. What are the other use cases for it? So I think it'll be interesting to see that evolve as well.
Okay, so I'm told you guys may have slightly more important things to do than sit here and chat.
Our
quite
bears are
happy.
empty.
This is it. He's like, we're taking care
I'm
of it.
quite happy that I'm settled in now.
But
Let's keep going.
Before we go and we say
I don't
goodbye,
want to go.
All right, let's keep it going then.
one last question. Is there anything, we kind of talked a little bit about some of this, but was there anything else, whether it be at the exhibit, something on main stage, something people should be looking out for at Autodesk University this year? So someone's attending, someone's watching online, because a lot of this is going to be broadcast live. What should they be looking out for?
Okay, so I would say electronics design should be quite interesting. We've got some stuff to show there, which is pretty cool. And then if you're here, I would definitely go check out the factory. So there's like a little, on the exhibit hall, you can actually go and make a product here through additive, subtractive design, electronics, the whole thing all together. That's a pretty cool experience.
Okay.
That's worth going and checking out.
Get
Greg?
there early.
What do you got,
Yeah,
Greg?
totally. So I'll say something for the folks who are online. If you have an opportunity, watch the industry keynote for D&M. We're going to have some special guests on stage with Steve and I. Super exciting. It's at 1:30 Pacific.
Perfect.
I will also
Keep going.
I will make a gratuitous plug and thank everyone on the dev team and more broadly go-to-market sales, everyone in Greg's team who've helped put this whole thing together, because without those guys we wouldn't have anything to show, and Greg and I would have to tap dance on stage.
And I don't think anybody wants to see
No.
that, just saying.
Definitely not.
I don't know. I'm kind of interested.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Well, we are told that it's time for you to go, but we really appreciate you joining us again this year, and hopefully again next year if we're so lucky.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, enjoy your Autodesk University 2019.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.